in our review of the For Honor classes and types, we're going to start off with the Knights. The first one we're going to cover is the Warden, classified as a Vanguard and also an easy difficulty. The character is adaptable, it's kind of classified as a hybrid, it's a jack of all trades, you have good health, you have good damage, and overall it's a well-rounded unit. You're going to be using a two-handed sword. It's extremely fun to play. It's got some cool finishers, and it's going to lend itself well to someone that's new to the game and just trying to pick up the basics, move forward from a well-balanced standpoint. The loadout that the Vanguard starts off with is Fiat Lux. You throw a flash grenade that blinds enemies for a few seconds. Now this is situational. It has some uses. It has some downsides, such as a long cast time and things like that. I would show some actual game footage of throwing this, but I'm a little bit pressed for time. The alpha is only going to be live for 3 days. I have a lot of content that I want to do. So if you're interested in playing this character, definitely go into a practice mode with some bots and test that out. See how long how far the range is, how long it takes to cast, etc., etc. The next ability that it starts out with is Thick Blood, passive ability, and you gain immunity from regular bleeds. It has some situational effects. It's very useful against berserkers, but again, it's not the most useful ability, but it does have some utility in the arena. The next ability that it has is Pungo Mortis. You throw an explosive projectile over an area, which is really great for damaging characters that are grouped up together fighting a teammate or something like that. When you have the jump on them, you put that down to do some great AoE damage. It's really fun once you unlock it in game. And then the fourth ability that it has is Stalwart Banner. Nearby allies regenerate health. Now you can place this down. It's a support ability. Put it on top of a Dominion point or something like that to regain health for your teammates and lend a helping hand over to not only your teammates but actually some of the minions that are going to be pressing the center portion of the map. It's a really fun character overall, and I would urge anyone watching to try it out if you have access to the game, and then later in the future when you do get access, to definitely pick it up, level it up, and see how it feels. The next knight we have is the Conqueror. It is a heavy type and it has a medium difficulty. It wields a shield and a mace, and when using it, you're going to find that you have a long range when used properly. You can chain combos together to keep your enemies on the back foot for a good deal of time, but what you're going to want to worry about is running out of stamina. When that happens, they're going to be susceptible to counterattack, so it's important to balance your stamina correctly, mix up your attacks, timing, etc., etc. It's a really fun class to use. I'm not exactly very talented with it, but I can get the job done when I need to. Now the loadout that it starts with is Speed Revive. The passive, it rapidly revives fallen teammates, so it's kind of a support tank character. It plays into its strengths, having that shield. Juggernaut, trade movement speed for stronger defense, again right in that tank line. And then Heal on Block, passive, blocking regains health, so you're going to be playing quite defensively, regenerating health when you're when enemies are attacking you, and then when you need to, you're going to be able to counterattack with high hitting strikes with that mace over and over, keep them on the back foot and combo them until death. And then Dauntless, as its quote unquote ultimate ability, as I like to call it, your actions can't be interrupted for a short duration, which means you can kind of just swing away at them despite taking damage and become a bit of a juggernaut where you just mow through them using heavy attacks non-stop, and they can't actually stagger you out of that heavy attack. I don't actually have footage of this. I wish I did, but a little bit. Again, pressed for time and want to do a lot of content on this. So I have some 1v1s showing, what the Conqueror can do, a few of the attacks. Definitely not any of the super advanced stuff. There's a lot of room for expertise in this game. If you were to get extremely talented with any one character, you could learn the ins and outs and become unstoppable with them. So I think that the balance is there. I think that any one character can excel in a variety of ways, and it's a really fun, balanced and really intense alpha that I'm super happy to have the privilege of playing. Alright, next up we have the Vikings. First off, we have the Raider with a Vanguard archetype and classified as an easy character. It's a disabler and a hard hitter. It's extremely fun to play. I had to warm up to this character. I hated it off the bat, but the long reach of the axe, the really powerful strikes sometimes from the overhead position make this really fun to play if you can combo onto the enemy properly. You have some good sprint attacks. You can pick the enemy up and throw them down, then do heaps of damage on top of that. It's definitely become one of my favorite classes. Now, you do have to be very conscious of stamina. In a brute force character like this, you need to be hyper aware of when you're using stamina versus when you're blocking, so that you can combo those chains together when you do get that opening to kill the enemy. Now, also, both the types of Vikings have the same loadout in terms of base skills. You can unlock more after this, but you're going to start out with Stun Trap, trap that stuns enemies, pretty straightforward. Doom Banner, nearby enemies have lower defense and attack, which is very useful in a kind of a locked-in positional combat standpoint. And Sharpened Blade, attacks gain bleeding over a short duration, which is great. If you can land 1 or 2 hits on a very low health enemy, then maybe they're going to run away. There's some characters that tend to do that more often than others, and they will then, go down to the bleed. And then Berserker, as its final kind of quote-unquote ultimate ability, significantly raising your attack, speed, and defense. You can just become unstoppable. You can just carve through enemies nonstop. It's really fun. I do actually enjoy the Raider significantly more than I used to at launch when I first started playing it. You have to warm up to it, but once you get good with it, there's some really cool combos you can do, breaking guard and throwing them on the ground. You can actually pick them up, carry them for a very long distance, and throw them over a cliff if you angle correctly. There's a lot of fun things to do, so it's rapidly become one of my favorite classes. Next up, we have the Berserker. Again, both Viking types have the same base loadout skills, so I'll talk about those at the end. This character is a short-range trooper, and it's kind of a harasser. Now, it has dual-wield axes. There's some specific combos that do a good amount of damage, but they're very predictable. So when you're playing as the Berserker, you need to make sure to mix it up and not get too locked into one specific spam of, like, for instance, heavy attack, heavy attack, heavy attack. What that will do is spin you in a circle. You have the final jumping attack, and then you have a cooldown period where the enemy can take advantage. So anyone that knows how the Berserker plays, when they see you do that specific combo or any other, very easy ones like that, they're going to be able to counterattack effectively. Now, the Berserker is quite good at pressing an advantage. Once you have an advantage, you want to keep going, you want to keep attacking. So stamina management, again, is key. And it does have a bit of a high learning curve. This character can do a lot of really versatile things once you're good with it, but if you're not good with it, it will actually be extremely difficult to play as. It's not as straightforward, and there's not going to be as many good combos that don't require, significant timing and practice with the character. So I enjoy it a great deal, but I'm not quite good enough yet with it to take it into a competitive Dominion format and really carry the team. I'm looking forward to the case that may be in the near future when I've learned more of the combos. But right now, I'm kind of practicing with it and getting up to snuff. Now the loadout is the same again as the Raider. The Vikings have the same one. Stun Trap stuns enemies. Doom Banner. Nearby enemies have lower attack and defense. Sharpened Blade, you gain bleeding, which is really useful with the quick attacks if you do use them correctly on multiple enemies, with the Berserker in particular. And then the final ultimate is Berserker, significantly raising attack, defense, and speed. Using that with this character can have devastating results when done properly, and it's a really fun time if you can manage to unlock it over the course of a longer Dominion match. Lastly, we have the Samurai. You have Kenshi. It's a Vanguard type, and it's classified as a medium difficulty. This character has really good range. It's quite adaptable. It plays a little bit more like a Warden and more like a heavy type, kind of blended together to me. Has really great range with the katana. It can reach quite far, and in 1v1s or even in, AoE style conflicts in Dominion, you're going to be able to reach farther than people expect and slay more enemies at once in terms of those smaller NPC mobs to help your team than anyone would expect, and it's quite valuable. Now, I enjoyed this right off the bat. It's my favorite character going in, after playing 2 or 3 games. I've since shifted that, perspective, but it's still an extremely fun character that everyone should check out. Now, the loadout is Steadfast. It's a passive, and you can sprint when you're out of stamina, which is really useful if you're in something like Dominion, trying to get back to that point where you can heal, and you're in a 2v1, and you run out of stamina. That would normally be a death sentence, but you can turn around, save your ass and get out of there. It's extremely helpful. Smoke Bomb, where you throw a smoke bomb on the ground to break enemy lock, which is really useful in 1v1s, let me tell you. You can pop that baby down, they lose their lock, and that means wherever you hit them from, they're not going to be able to block it. And if you time it correctly, you can actually get off an entire combo while they're still in that radius. It's really effective, and there's some advanced tactics that come with that. And Second Wind, recover some of your health. That's just a really straightforward skill. There's not any explanation that needs to go with that. And then Stalwart Banner. Nearby allies regenerate health. Very similar to the Knight ability. It's something that's very valuable in situational and positional fights. You can drop that down on an objective, help your team out, especially in 2v2s, 3v3s, etc., etc. It's a really fun class, and I would urge everyone to check it out. Right off the bat, I gravitated towards this for some reason, even though it's not classified as an easy difficulty. It seems really conducive to new players to check it out and friendly to them. Last but not least, we have Orochi. It's an assassin type and is classified as a hard difficulty. Now, the character is an agile fighter, and it has a lot of counterattacks. So first off, I kind of called this character a little bit of a cheese in my live stream because I was seeing teams of 4. I was seeing 4 or more Orochis in any one Dominion game, which in a game where there's 6 different playable classes, you should not be seeing in an 8-person game 4 of the same thing. That just doesn't really make sense. Now, I realized why while playing it. Some of the counterattacks that it has are just built right into the combo streams. So if you're doing these things and not expecting to be hit, sometimes you actually get a freebie block off. It's really fun to play, and it's rewarding for a player that maybe likes to button mash. This is not a button mashing game by any stretch, but this character is a little bit more friendly to people that maybe make mistakes on the buttons and still get rewarded for certain combos that they didn't know about. But that just speaks to the intensity and the difficulty and the complexity of that character, because if you were to master everything that Orochi can do, I am sure that you would be able to destroy pretty much anyone that you encounter. It's one of the fastest heroes. It excels at 1v1s or maybe even 2v1s or 2v2s, but outside of that, when you get flanked by a heavy hitting, Conqueror or something like that, you're going to go down pretty quickly. Now the loadout for Orochi is a Kai. You stun nearby opponents with a scream. It doesn't work all that effectively, but it definitely has its ins and outs. Smoke bomb, again, you throw the smoke bomb on the ground, you break lock. You can take advantage of this with some great, really fast-paced progressive combos by Orochi when done properly. And then you have slip throw for the third ability. It's a passive, dodging raises attack for a short duration. So you can dodge away from someone, dodge back in, and then start to unleash, regular attacks that deal significantly more damage. And then you have Nail Bomb, a trap which deals bleed damage in an area of effect. It does a lot of damage. It's rarely unlocked during Dominion games unless you go on a real killing spree, but when you do use it, has a great AoE, and it's really valuable. Now, these are just a few of the characters. There will be more playable characters when For Honor releases in the end. However, we wanted to do our due diligence, put out this video, talk about the ones that are there in the alpha right now, give a sneak peek first impressions to all of our subscribers. So thank you guys for being here. And if you want to see more For Honor content from us, just wait for the outro, check out some of our other videos, subscribe if you'd like to, and like the video. So thank you very much for watching, and as always guys, have a nice day.